All right, so some very intense things have started happening, not just in crypto, but globally too. We've got rising tensions again between the US and Iran, and some pretty aggressive statements are coming out politically. And at the same time, Bitcoin and the overall market have actually started picking up some speed and they kind of started to react. So today, I'm going to break down everything that has happened. So what's actually happened with US and Iran, why the markets reacted the way they did, what we're seeing right now on Bitcoin, and what this could realistically mean next. Because there's a lot of noise currently, and we're going to filter out what this actually means. So make sure you stay till the end to know everything that's happened. So let's have a look at what's currently happened. So over the past week, tensions between the US and Iran have escalated again. So the key trigger here was that US seized a Iranian-linked cargo ship, which Iran responded to very, very aggressively. And on top of that, there are ongoing issues around the Strait of Hormuz again, which, as you know, is one of the most important oil routes in the world. We spoke about this in another video, so make sure you check that out if you haven't already. But anyway, so what Iran has been doing is they've been threatening to control over that region again, and the US is not taking that lightly at all. So, and now the part where this gets more heated is that there were statements coming out from Trump suggesting that if Iran doesn't agree with certain terms quickly, the US could take very aggressive military action, including comments about essentially wiping out infrastructure. And at the same time, Iran has been refusing to negotiate under those terms. So what we have right now is no real progress in diplomacy, increasing military pressure, and a very fragile situation overall. And right now, this isn't just politics, it's an active geopolitical tension that markets have to pay attention to. And now, naturally, when something like this happens, markets never seem to ignore it. We saw Bitcoin and crypto pull back slightly, and this is important because it shows something that a lot of people still misunderstand. So crypto is no longer completely independent from global events. Right now, it behaves a lot more like a risk asset, similar to stocks. So when this uncertainty increases, investors reduce risk, liquidity tightens, and you get a short-term pullback. We also saw oil prices reacting, which adds more pressure on inflation expectations, and that feeds back into financial markets overall. So this isn't just a random move in crypto. This was a reaction to uncertainty. Now let's talk about Bitcoin specifically. What we're seeing currently is a pullback, but not a breakdown. And what's really important is the distinction. So on a daily time frame, as you can see, we are still respecting these key levels. We're holding support zones that we've been watching for a while. And price is still reacting cleanly between support and resistance levels. So structurally, nothing is broken. Now, the question is, could we go lower? Yes, and this is where we need to be realistic. If uncertainty continues, especially with these geopolitical tensions, we could absolutely see Bitcoin coming down to that 40 to 45k range. Now, that wouldn't actually be surprising at all. In fact, that would still be a completely normal move with a broader trend, because the markets don't actually move in straight lines, they move in waves. So right now, what matters is, are we holding the structure? Yes, we are, but are buyers still stepping in at those key levels? So far, yes. So this isn't, like a panic territory just yet, but this is like a market reacting to the external pressure that we've currently got going on. And there's also something interesting to point out what's going on. And this is more of a behavioral pattern. If you've been watching the markets for a while, you'll notice that a lot of major political statements, especially from Trump, tend to happen over the weekends. Now, this obviously isn't random because this literally happened earlier on, couple week or two ago, when we had Trump saying that he's going to blow up the entire civilization. And that also happened on a Saturday or Sunday, I believe. So weekends are when traditional markets are closed. So if something extreme is said, like, threats, major policy shifts, or aggressive statements like we've, currently just had, there's time for reactions, adjustments, or that narrative control before these traditional markets reopen again. So statements that sound very extreme initially, but then get softened, clarified, or absorbed by the time markets fully react. So while the rhetoric right now sounds intense, it doesn't automatically mean, immediate escalation, but it does increase that uncertainty again, and that's what the markets care about the most. Now, looking forward, there are two main scenarios that we could see. Firstly, being the de-escalation, talks resume, tensions cool down and markets stabilize. In this case, Bitcoin likely holds the current levels and continues trading higher over time. Whereas scenario two would be that we get further escalation, more conflict, more uncertainty, and more aggressive actions. And in this case, we would get a move down to that 40 to 45K range, maybe even some volatility spikes. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean a long-time bearish market. It just means short-term pressure. So overall, the takeaway is that what we're seeing right now is not a market collapse. Don't get this confused. It's just a reaction from the global uncertainty, like what's currently happening in the world right now. And Bitcoin is respecting the key levels. Structure is still intact, but at the same time, we need to stay realistic because if tensions continue, lower prices are absolutely on the table. So right now, it's all about watching the geopolitical situation, key support and resistance levels, and how the market reacts, not just what it does. So those are the things you guys need to watch for right now. Personally, I will also be obviously watching those things. But yeah, I will obviously keep you all updated with what happens. So just before you go, make sure you guys check out Everdex in the description below, which is a decentralized platform that I also use for all of my trading. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. Drop a like, that'll be greatly appreciated, and subscribe to stay up to speed with all the latest videos. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.